Hello, everybody. I'm back. I know last week I was all alone, but today I have a new guest. It's a voice that you guys have never heard. Her name is Lydia Kimball, and I've met her through my friend Tina, who we've been boot camping together. She's a part of everybody knows I've talked about my boot camp so much on this podcast, and I adore everybody, and Tina is one of those people. And Tina made it known that she's an expert in planning events and organizing them. And so when I told her about Virago and the things that I want to do outside of podcasting, she's like, I can help you. So I met Lydia through Tina a few weeks ago because she's like, oh, you need to meet my friend Lydia because she's, trying to write a book and it's a guide and it's exactly what you're doing. So it's just so cool. When you start talking to people about what your dreams are and what your passions are, that you meet new people that have those same passions and you just connect. So I'm all about talking, and that's why I have this podcast, so we can talk about things and connect with people. And it's you need to meet so-and-so. So it's been awesome. Lydia Kimball is here on my podcast. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Say hello to the people. We don't bite here. Everyone that listens is so sweet. Now, I don't know everyone that listens, but the few that I do know, they're very sweet and very, they're our cheerleaders. So,
wonderful.
and I think they appreciate new voices. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Why did you start this book, or what? I mean, I know you're in the infancy stages, and I know
Yes.
Tina's helping you.
Well, I guess it all started when I hit the big 50, I call it. And I'll be 53 this year. And I guess you could say I came to a four-way stop sign because my son has grown, been out of the house, very independent. Thankfully, I have a very healthy marriage and I do a lot of activities with my husband, but I also like to have something for me, and being with friends and connecting with people and finding a common ground, being supportive. And at the time, recently, when I reconnected with Tina and I were friends in high school and with some other ladies. And just, I guess about a year ago, my path changed because at the time, my dynamic was changing. I'm finding myself wanting to pursue other interests. And also I had, some other friends that some are still a part of my life, but, sometimes there are certain friends that last a season. And some of them kind of became toxic.
Yes, I did a whole podcast on that for last week's episode. Yes, I know, Mom. I'm very aware about this.
And I found myself, I guess, almost going back to being that people pleaser. It was almost like I was just so thankful for, and I'm talking about the old toxic friends, liking me. So I was conforming to them, and I wasn't being true to myself anymore. And just like now, how we're discussing our common ground, I didn't even have that with them. It was almost like we were speaking two different languages. Mm-hmm. So I just had to break away and sit down and be real with myself and say, where do you want to be now? What do you want to do? And so it led me, I started researching. I started trying to, read about what people do at this stage in their life, because the question that came to my mind was, what do I do now? What's my purpose now? And it was changing. And I found myself coming home from work and do the things I needed to do around the house, whether it was cleaning or cooking or whatever. And I just wasn't doing anything. I didn't have any passion. I mean, I would go out and exercise a little bit, but I just wasn't doing very much. And the other few friends I had, we would do things, but it just was different. The passions were gone. It was changing. Mm-hmm. So then I also, I guess a little of my background I've had some challenges with my health off and on for about 13 years. And all of a sudden, I'm the type of person, like if a doctor or someone tells me, well, we don't quite understand what's happening with you, but, you're just going to have to just do this because we don't know what else to do. I don't take no for an answer. I'm like, there's an answer there somewhere. Mm-hmm. And so that led me into another path. It's like, okay, I'm in my 50s now. So are some of my friends. Mm-hmm. And so when I started researching about people our age and what we're trying to do and trying to have a healthy, what we're linked mindset, mm-hmm. it really fascinated me because it kind of turned on a pilot light in my head that said, okay, wait a minute. I'm doing this all wrong. My attitude's changing. I'm just basically existing. So I have a second chance at life. It's not over because society as a whole, I mean, if you think about it, we're basically taught in some way, well, okay, you're at this stage of your life now, you don't do as much now. You're not 25 anymore. Mm-hmm. Just, veg out, watch TV, and maybe go out to dinner once in a while. Just basically wither away. And I didn't want to do that. And I just thought, and then I started seeing, whether it was through magazines or even on a television show, I was seeing these women my age, not only looking pretty good, but I mean, they were just not only physically fit, but mentally fit. And I was not mentally fit. And it was almost like I remember vividly being in the bathroom and looking in the mirror. I didn't even recognize myself. And I did not like what I saw. I truly think if I didn't make the changes that I made, I don't even know if I would be here. Because I was my mentality, the way I was going, it was making me sicker and sicker and sicker. And I'm like, this isn't just happening for no reason. Basically, when I hit rock bottom, and luckily at the time I had found my functional medicine doctor, and actually that's, even though the word mindset has been around for quite some time, obviously, she incorporates this in her practice. And so I became really fascinated about how my mental attitude affected my health. And I also became interested in just taking that and combining it with, okay, this is a passion, and this is a chance for me to take that passion and change my life, connect with others, and start over. Because life's not over yet.
No. Well, it's. I have a few questions about the sick part, but
Sure.
But it's true, like you said. It's like people, especially our society, thinks, okay, you hit 50. If you haven't fulfilled your passion or purpose before now, then it's too late. It's never going to happen. You're too old. But when you think about it, you're 50 years old. You may have another 50 years. You may have another 40 years. That's a long time.
It is.
and people think, oh, 50 is so old. But when you get to it, it's like 40 years of living.
Yes.
Is a long time. So no, it's not over. And we have to shift our mindset, like you said.
Yes.
So you were saying that you were physically getting sick, or was it physical or mental, or both? Like, how did those kind of go hand in hand?
It was both. I guess to give a little bit of a background, I do have, I've always had for a long time, anxiety and some mild depression. And I've pretty much had a hold of it through therapy and temporary medicinal needs. I was fortunate enough that I didn't have to stay on anything, which is good because I would prefer not to do that. But I think the therapy helped me a lot because you really do have to get to the root cause of everything. And also, when you're going through this therapy, you do have to go into it with a good attitude and a better outlook on life, because if you keep that doom and gloom and, oh, I can't be helped, you're not going to be helped, because you can have all the resources you want in the world, but if you don't face it, get to the root cause, and allow yourself even to hit rock bottom. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom more than once. And if you don't do that, then you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to be exactly where you are.
Yeah.
And everything that comes good to you, I mean, it takes time, and you have to do the work. I mean, nothing worthwhile comes easy, as they say.
Oh, definitely. And I feel like in order to grow, you have to go through some shit, because if everything's perfect, then what is there to learn and grow from? Like, because my life is good. There's no bumps in the road. So of course, like, what's going to make you change? What's going to make you change?
Right.
Change comes through shit hitting the fan. That's what I like to see.
Yes.
And that's how I envision it. Like literal shit hitting the fan, just spinning all over the place. Right?
Yes.
And as people, as humans, we're like, we hate that because it's uncomfortable, and I'm learning to embrace it. And we can, and I've learned that we can stay in our feelings, or not stay in our feelings, like feel the feels, cry it out, be angry, be sad. But once you get through those emotions, like, start understanding or realizing, okay, where did that stem from? What is it? Why was I angry? Because anger comes from somewhere, right? There's a root cause or reason based on this. I'm not an expert, but based on the things that I've read. And once I started incorporating certain things, like, okay, why am I angry? Where's this anger coming from? Is it something from my childhood that's triggered? Is it, I feel like I need to defend myself, and I've, never been heard, and nobody ever, there's always a reason why you're angry about whatever just happened.
Absolutely.
And like growing from it. And I feel like some people never get there, unfortunately.
I agree with you. It can be complicated. I mean, if you think about it, us as human beings, we're very complex, because like we're talking now, we can sit here and say, all you have to do is this. But that doesn't mean the person down the street can do that. It's sort of like when they say, how people express their emotions and say, oh, I love you. For some people, they can't even part their lips and say the word.
Yeah.
So, and again, I do find that fascinating, because I always want to get inside that person's head and go, let me just see what's going on. Let me push that one button. And if I could just do that, your life's going to just be so much better.
And so you said you were watching TV and you're seeing women your age actually like living life and doing things.
Yes.
And people your age can be watching TV all day long, but it never is going to like register and make you want to change. So what do you remember, like, what was it that made you go bing, like a light bulb went off where I'm like, I got to do something? Because if it was easy, or if it was kind of something that just appeared to everyone, then everyone would be changing. So what was that? How did you feel? Take us back to that moment.
Well, I guess it was a combination of things, because I remember at that time, because my son was younger at that time, I came home and I did the regular routine at the time. I used to go to Starbucks and all that, and I'd get back, and then Riff was at work, and I was just sitting there, and I remember looking at my to-do list. Wasn't much, because I would always get early and get everything done. And so when I was watching one of those, like we were talking about reality shows, and I was seeing these women, and I was like, they're married and they have their life and all that, but they were getting together, bonding, doing trips, working out together, doing all this stuff. And I was like, I used to do that, because my anxiety had came back. Like, I'd always had it, but and this is a complicated part. There's no full explanation about why anxiety hit me back then. Could be a hormone shift. It could be, the brain waves can just take a dip. You don't know. But something, I still don't have an answer to the day, what made me get like that. But then as time went on, I guess it was perimenopause kicked in. So that even made it worse, because it came back with a vengeance. So that was part of the reason why, too, that I was in a slump. So you have no purpose. You're going through these physical changes. The mental challenges are coming back. And then it's like I sat there and I looked around at the house. And so to answer your question, it was almost like, I guess it was one of the women she was talking about, because they like to talk about their issues, to stay relevant on the show. Mm-hmm. And she said the word anxiety. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about it. And I'm going, oh my God, you have this anxiety and you are in front of a camera.
Yeah.
Like, how are you doing this? And of course, on the show, they're all dressed up. They look posh.
They have their glam squad. I want a glam squad one day.
I want a full makeover, okay?
Oh, well, I love my makeup, and it'd be nice just to have someone travel with me. And hey, yes. I gotta go to this dinner.
Yes.
I need you to do my makeup.
Yes. Oh my God. And it's so interesting. And I guess.
So you connected when she said anxiety. So you're thinking, well, she has the same thing that I have, but she's still living her fabulous life. Like, she's able to kind of keep going despite it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I realize everybody has their own strengths. I mean, not everybody has the same level of strengths to deal with it. But then it was almost like my brain shifted to the left a little bit, and I saw that, and then I got really down on myself. I was like, oh my God, you freaking loser.
Oh,
look
Lydia.
at you.
Yeah.
Oh, it was bad. It's like I beat up on myself so easily. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was bad. And I was having what I call when you go down the rabbit hole.
Oh, yes.
And that scared me because that came so fast. I mean, it was almost as if, like when you're in an ocean and you feel the waves move you. I felt this wave inside of me, and I felt sick, and I had dark thoughts, and I was by myself.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And for a minute, I remember thinking, it's like, as much as oh my God, I have a beautiful son, and my husband, who's my second husband, just a wonderful man, because he is the most loving, non-judgmental, caring person in the world to me, and very supportive. Mm-hmm. I had that, but I didn't see that. All I could see was just pitch black. So I had that moment, and it scared me bad because I thought I was going to hurt myself. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know if this sounds a little religious, but it's like, my dad's been gone. Mm-hmm. But I felt him there. It's interesting, the people that can.
So in that moment of you, like, I can't do this anymore, like, I don't even want to be here, your dad came to you, or like you felt his presence?
I felt him. It's weird what the mind does to you, because I could smell him.
Wow.
That cologne, that it was Ralph Lauren Polo.
Stop it. And you can smell that? Really?
It's really interesting. And I was like, okay, wait a minute. Is this really happening, or am I having a stroke? So I didn't know. Uh-huh. And then literally, because my dad was a very strong man who had anxiety. Okay. As well. But he was so strong. And so I literally, all these little components of that morning clicked, and I literally got on my knees and I prayed to God so hard. Yeah. And then it was like, after that, I was like, okay, now stand up. Just get off your knees, stand up. And then I remembered saying, now get in the shower. Mm-hmm. And then after that, the next thing you know, 2 hours passed and I got through it. Mm-hmm. And then I remember doing what I promised my therapist what I do. I called and said, I'm okay. This is what happened. Because even though I got through it, I cannot explain enough, whether it's a therapist, psychiatrist, your mother, your friend, your husband, tell somebody. Yeah. Because it gets dangerous when you don't. Mm-hmm. Because I have lost a friend to suicide. I've had a relative attempt it. And I mean, and the thing is about that is I never thought I would feel that way. Yeah. But I'm telling you, none of us are immune to it.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I used to have those feelings as like younger. As an adult after 22, and I can totally relate with that darkness.
Yeah.
And getting on my knees and crying. Like, please, that feeling of just the only person that can help me is God.
Yeah.
The only being, the only whatever we want to call it. I call him God. Yes. And it's powerful. It's like, I give it all to you. And being in that moment, I feel like that is rock bottom, when it's like, it's either you get me out of this or I don't even want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
When I was, and as an adult, I never wanted to, I didn't have those feelings of not wanting to be here anymore, but that anxiety still was there. Yeah. And like you said, your husband is wonderful. I have a wonderful husband too. Yeah. And you see the kids and the this and then that. And then you realize I think people don't really understand that it's not about the outside. It's not about what's happening around you. It's what's happening inside. That's where anxiety stems from. People think, well, if you relax a little, or if maybe you're not so stressed or not this or not that, then it'll all go away. If it was that simple,
I wish.
Then people would not be in therapy if it was that simple. It's getting to the root of what the hell is happening within me to make me feel this way, that I, with this beautiful life, can't just be content. And it all stems from something different from everybody. And I just had this conversation. It's interesting that we're talking about this. And this is why, like when you said you're watching TV and you're admiring these women on TV, and then they start talking about their issues, you're like, wow. So today, oddly enough, at work, one of the girls is struggling through, with that. And it's very fresh, very new with anxiety. And she's having panic attacks, which I can relate.
Yes.
And so I don't even know why we talk, because we're working. I mean, it's a fast-paced environment, but I don't even know why we got on this topic. But I was like, I remember a time where I was just so overwhelmed with being a stay-at-home mom. My kids were very, very little. And I think I've told the story on the podcast before, but I'm going to tell it again for those of you who've heard it, where my husband, I felt like I was choking. My kids were like 9, 2, and 1, or 9, 3, and 1. So the two younger ones, like my son, it was hard to potty train, so they were both in diapers. And I envisioned myself growing up when I was in college. I had my oldest in college. And then I feel like I went down a different path because of that.
Yes.
I felt that I always wanted to be a businesswoman or like a career woman, where I'm traveling, I'm making moves, I'm like doing things. Yes. I was never a woman that wanted to be home with kids.
Right.
And some women wish that, and that's their dream. That was not mine. I always knew I wanted to be a mother, but I wanted to be a working mother. Right. And so then when I was in this position, people looked at me and it's like, so many women want to be able to stay home and not work, and you should be grateful, right? And I just didn't feel that. So I remember my husband comes home, I packed a little bag and I said, here's the baby. I don't know where I'm going, but if I don't leave, I'm going to snap. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to like bust. Sure. I need to get away. I don't know where I'm going. And poor guy, he's so sweet. He just looked at me. He's like, okay. And so I'm telling this story to the coworker, and she's like, and he let you go? I'm like, I didn't give him a choice. I didn't ask for permission.
Right.
I'm going, and I'll call you wherever I land. Yeah. And so, okay, people know where we are in this area. I literally got in my car and made it to Gainesville. So for those who don't know, it's like, 45 minutes from here. So I didn't get very far. It got dark, and I'm like, well, it's getting dark. So I didn't get far. I'm like, I'm going to drive to Florida to the beach or somewhere. I thought I was going to be driving for like 8 hours or something.
Thelma and Louise.
Just Thelma all alone. This is a true story. I love it. And I remember I brought my Bible with me. So, we're talking about faith. And so I for some reason, I thought to myself, bring your Bible. I don't know why. And so I made it to Gainesville. And I found a hotel. Like, okay, I'm going to stay here. It looks like it's clean. And there was I don't know if it was an Outback, a Chili's, one of those chain restaurants right next door. I'm going to get some food. I found I think a grocery store. I got a bottle of wine, and I took all of that to my room, and I ate and I watched TV. And there were no little kids climbing on me, and there were nobody was saying mommy. There were no distractions, just me by myself.
Yes.
And then I slept. And I slept and I slept and I slept. And I think maybe that's what I needed. And I remember waking up in the morning and thinking, okay, I can stay the whole weekend, because I think this was like a Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
And I did it strategically, because I wasn't going to leave him hanging knowing that he had to go to work. I knew he wasn't, he didn't have work. So I did it on a weekend, and I remember opening my Bible and I said, Lord, I need you to speak to me. I need you to speak to me, because the way this is going, it is not working for me.
Right.
And I need a different mindset. And that's what we're about to talk about. I know we're all laying the groundwork. We're getting somewhere. It was about mindset, right?
Yes.
And my mind was thinking, I'm a career woman. I shouldn't be here. It was negative, 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 negative. It was all like what I should be, could be, and I'm not, instead of just appreciating what was happening. And so my Bible has some devotionals within it where, it kind of, helps you understand the scripture and brings it back to modern day stuff.
Yes.
And so I opened it, and it fell on a devotional, and it had to do with being where God needs you to be at that time.
Wow.
It doesn't mean you're going to be there forever.
Right.
It doesn't mean, and it even said something about a stay-at-home mom. I don't remember the details. I just know that it spoke to me, that it said, I need to be there. I need to raise these babies, and you should feel very blessed that you get to be the one to really nurture them and care for them, and not anybody else. Right. And you will have your time, Lyanette. You're still young. This was what I had my youngest, or my youngest child, I was 30. So I had to be 31. And then I had my oldest child at 21. So I'm you're still young.
Yes.
And so this is what I was reading. And I remember bawling and crying and saying, yes, Lord, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to embrace this, and I'm going to have a different shift in mindset. And we're going to do this, and I will fulfill. This is actually part of fulfilling my purpose that I didn't realize. Serving your kids and being there for your husband and all these things, that's a purpose. But then it doesn't mean that you're going to be there forever, because everything is very fluid, and God's going to have a different purpose for you once that ends. And so I remember I didn't even stay the weekend. I got in my car, I came back home, and I told Philip, I'm fine. I'm sure we had a conversation about it.
Sure.
And not saying that everything was perfect.
Yeah.
However, I had a different mindset. So I'm telling this girl this information, right? And she's like, oh my, and then I told her about panic attacks, and she's like, oh my gosh, I'm going through the same thing right now. And you talking about it, and I see you as a strong woman, and here you come in and you're this and you're that. I had no idea. And so we're literally supposed to be working, right? And she's like, I'm so sorry. But please, can I ask you a question? So she's asking me about panic attacks and how I've dealt with them. And, I had to get on medication, like you said, for a little bit.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be on it for long, but I did it for that time until I can and I tried therapy, but I didn't. I feel like my therapy are my friends who do therapy, and I'm like, you're paying for my therapy by sharing what you learned in therapy and by listening to my crap. So I learned through interaction.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different fit of what works for them.
Yeah. So my point in telling this is so important. The reason, the very foundation of this podcast is to talk so that others don't feel alone. So in you watching this show and then me sharing, she's like, I am so glad. And this happened today. It literally happened this morning. I'm so glad that we're talking about this, because she's in the beginning stages. She doesn't know what it is. She doesn't know. She hasn't gone to a therapist yet. She's literally starting from scratch. What is happening? My life is good, but I have this anxiety. And she comes from a different culture where, where maybe that's not understood. But she's like, well, I know I have to do therapy. My husband doesn't understand. He's wonderful. But if you've never experienced anxiety, like Philip, he's never experienced that.
Right, they don't
He's
know.
lovely, but he doesn't understand where that's coming from. And
that's right.
It's so important to talk about these things, because she, in that moment, her sweet little face just lit up, and it's just like, thank you so much for sharing. And I said, listen, I know we got to go back to work, but there's more where that came from, and I am not an expert, and I'm still on my journey. But she's like, what, early 30s, maybe 30, 31, I think she said.
Sure.
So she's like, I'm not an expert, but I can give you whatever I have learned, and I can give you how to cope with your panic attacks, because it's all in the mind. It's all in the mind. It's about talking yourself off the ledge. It's about breathing techniques. It's about you're not going to die, because it does feel like you're dying and you feel like you're going crazy. And I remember going to doctors about test my heart. I must be sick. There's something. And then
you become a hypochondriac.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing, because it's important. And then you watching TV made you want to change. And so anyways, I just needed to share that because I love this conversation, because it's meaningful.
Gave her hope, and I'll tell you what part of it is. When you have anxiety or you're going through things, now if you think about it, somebody would say, oh, common sense, you're not the only one. But when you're going through it, you feel alone. You feel like, what's wrong with me? And like you were talking about your friend, like cultures, like in some cultures, or even just people's different beliefs, who their mindsets are limited, they look at it as a taboo.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, I like to call it, I don't like to call it mental illness. I like to call it a mental challenge.
I love that.
It's just a challenge. Little obstacle, you can overcome it. Yeah. It is possible. Anything's possible. And you know, it's so interesting going back to watching that reality show. It was so funny. I wasn't even paying attention to it before. It was just white noise.
Yes.
Because all I could do was sit there on the couch. It was so hard. It was the first time, like I've had panic attacks, stuff like that before, but that was a period of time, no exaggeration, I could barely leave the house. I never had that. See, anxiety is multifaceted. It affects people different ways, and even if you had it all your life, all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I've had this before, but this is a different kind. There's no label for it. I would go to pick up for my son from school, and there was one time that I passed out at the school picking my son up, and I woke up in the emergency room.
What?
Yes.
Did they say like what it was?
Panic attack. And
you passed out.
I never had that happen before. And I felt so bad because he was my son in high school singing this, and he was born with old soul, so he, bless his heart, God, I probably traumatized him. But I remember though, I was a comical part of this. I was livid. When I woke up on the gurney coming in, I chewed out one of the paramedics. I cussed him out, because he didn't understand it. He basically was very sarcastic, and he was talking to a doctor, and he goes, I don't know. He said maybe she's just having a female problem. I don't know. And all of a sudden, that panic attack went away, and I just blasted him.
Good for you.
Yes.
Good for you.
I'm like, remember, what's that saying? Walk a mile in someone else's shoes. People don't get it. My husband does not have these issues.
Yes. Yeah.
And he is so positive. I used to make a joke, and I'm like, oh my God, here's Polly Positive again.
Well, you know what?
I love it.
I think women, with the way we are and how our brains tick, I'm thankful. I'm so thankful that I'm not married to a man with similar thoughts and feelings. Amen. Because how am I going to grow if we're both going through the same shit? Like, listen, we both can't be having panic attacks, and we both can't be having anxiety. And I'm sure there's marriages out there where both of them are going through the same thing. I'm like, no. So I'm thankful that he grounds me. And I've grown a lot because of him. And I'm thankful that I found a partner that's nothing like me when it comes to that. Now, when it comes to our internal beliefs and what we believe in about the world, that is in sync. I've always said, I feel like you really need that to kind of come together. You can have different personalities, you can have different backgrounds, but like we both have a faith, we both agree on the way we raise our kids. We both agree on how we handle our finances.
Yes.
Like the big stuff we agree on.
Yes.
All this other stuff, I was like, okay. So you know, you're not as like OCD like me, or you're this or you're that. That kind of stuff is like petty and you can get over it. But
Yes.
a good foundation is key. And so I'm very thankful with all of my, what did you call them? Not my mental illness, but my mental challenges.
Yes. Yes.
With all my mental challenges, he still loves me, and he's patient, and he's kind, and he helps me.
That's wonderful.
And he's helped me to overcome it. It sounds like you have that too. Yeah.
He really did. Riff helped me a lot, and it's so funny. It's interesting because in some ways he reminds me of my dad. There was a reason they really clicked when they met, because now I will say my dad understood it because he did have it. But my dad had this extra layer of strength that, let's just say, I lacked for a while. And so my dad knew how to talk to me about these things so we could really relate. I mean, he could finish my sentences. I was like, could you just get out of my head, please? He could look at my face and he knew.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my God. So yeah, we were like little carbon copies. I mean, even our hands, feet, everything. I was just like, oh my God. But and speaking of mindset, and this has helped me, like, God, when you lose someone, it's horrible.
Yes.
I mean, oh my God. And it's interesting because I'll have, it'll be almost, 19, 20 years. It is coming on upon that. And it feels like yesterday. And some years I handle it fine. Some years it hits you out of the blue. And I used to get so sad and go, oh my God, I can't take this. This is too much. This is too much. But the mindset comes in. So I tell myself now, how would you like for it to be? Do you want to feel nothing and be dead inside? I'm okay with being sad because that means we're still like
Connected.
this. Absolutely. And so that's how you have to look at things. It's like you got to ask yourself, like, okay, do you look at the glass half full or empty? When it's storming outside, do you say, oh God, it's all dreary and nasty, or do you go, oh God, I like the way this, the sound of the rain when it hits the windshield?
Oh my gosh, yes.
See?
I have to, yes. And you see where we're sitting. I call this my she cave.
I love it.
And so when it rains, I feel like it's like a rainforest because we have all these trees behind us.
Yes.
And instead of saying, oh my, like you said, oh, it's so crappy today. You know, people like to talk about the flipping weather. I enjoy when it's sunny. I enjoy it when I'm sweating, even though I don't love to sweat because our summers are like hot. I try not to complain.
Yeah.
But when it's raining, it's like, wow, look at the weather. It is a mindset. Ooh, I get to sit here in my cozy home and watch a show while hearing the rain, or maybe read a good book or something.
Yes.
Meditate. Take a nap.
Yeah.
It's about, okay. So now that we laid the foundation of where you're coming from, you hit rock bottom, you were watching TV and like, oh my gosh, I'm 50, I'm this, my life is over, and then realizing it's not over. And then you said that you started seeing a therapist. So let's talk about like what steps did you take to start living a better life? Because how old are you now? Because how long have you been on this journey?
52. I'll be 53 this year.
So the journey is pretty recent, and so once you started taking these steps of I need to change. Let's talk about that. Come back next week to continue part 2 of Change Your Mindset, Change Your Life. Lydia and I continue the conversation. Have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for listening to Virago 24/7. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and please give us 5-star ratings. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Virago 24_7 and on Facebook at Virago 24/7, and just connect with us and share your story. We'd love to hear from you.